7-year-old Chloe had never been outside of the abandoned house she shared with her father, Henry. Her mother had passed away years ago. The movie starts with Chloe eyeing an ice cream van parked outside her house through a hole in the wall. There were some strange occurrences outside Chloe's house. The birds weren't moving and appeared to be glitching. The electricity in the house was constantly out, and there seemed to be no life outside. Henry always grew furious when Chloe peeked outside, as she was forbidden to leave the house due to fear of the bad men who had killed her mother. Henry wasn't sure of his safety, so he had prepared a plan in case something bad happened to him. He had made a deal with their neighbors, the Reeds family. In his absence, the Reeds would be paid a steady amount of cash as long as they took care of Chloe. The Reeds consisted of a daughter named Harper, a mother named Nancy, and a father named Steve. One day, as the two played poker, Henry's eyes started to bleed. That night, while Chloe was sleeping, she heard a strange noise from her closet. She opened it to check, and suddenly, a woman inside the closet screamed. Chloe, too, yelled in fear. She ran back to her bed and started to scribble on the wall, repeating the words, "Go away, ghost." Finally, the screaming stopped, and the ghost was gone. The following morning, Chloe woke up to the sound of an ice cream truck. She peered through a window, and to her surprise, her neighbor's daughter, Harper, was buying ice cream. Chloe whispered to Harper to bring it to her, knowing that she wouldn't hear it. However, soon after, someone knocked on the door. Chloe rushed downstairs and opened the door. Surprisingly, it was Harper, offering her the ice cream. Just as she was about to grab it, Henry, from behind, stopped her. Surprisingly again, Harper called Chloe by her name. Henry was confused as he had never introduced Chloe to anyone, so he quickly brought her inside. Henry was furious and asked her if she had met Harper before, but Chloe insisted that she had never been out of the house. However, he didn't believe her and put her into the closet as punishment. The following morning, Henry came into the closet and apologized to her, but she was still mad at him and insisted that she wanted to go out. Henry promised to bring her ice cream if she never opened the door again. He then left for the grocery store but came back injured with a gun in his hand. As he tended to his injuries, Chloe looked for ice cream in the basket he had brought but found none. She started to yell at her father, but he passed out from the injury. Just then, Chloe heard the ice cream truck ringing. She retrieved a $100 bill from the locker and went outside. The old man in the truck bribed her with an ice cream cone and persuaded her to get inside the truck. She was doubtful but got in when he said he would take her to the park. They drove away, and Chloe saw the outside world for the first time. She saw a billboard of a person bleeding from his eyes, and below the picture, it said to call 911 if you saw someone like that. Chloe mentioned that the man bled like her dad. The old man then asked her if she had ever bled like that, but Chloe denied it. When they reached the park, the man sat Chloe on a swing and asked her if there was something she could do that other people couldn't. Chloe didn't answer, too busy playing. Suddenly, he started to swing her aggressively, and Chloe got scared, asking him to stop. But the man tried to make her angry to surface her powers. Eventually, a policeman approached them and asked them to step away from the girl. The old man claimed that he was Chloe's grandfather, but Chloe denied it. The officer then asked Alan to show his eyes. Alan turned to Chloe and told her that the officer was one of the bad guys who killed her mother. Chloe becomes upset and starts screaming at the man to go away. Surprisingly, it works, and he leaves without another word. It turns out that Chloe has telepathic abilities, the ability to enter and manipulate other people's minds. The old man begins to realize that Chloe is a special child and brings her back home. On their way, he tells Chloe about her mother, Mary, and gives her a picture of her. He reveals that he is actually Chloe's grandfather, Alan. Before parting ways, he gives her a powder and tells her to drug her dad when she hears the ice cream truck ring. This will make Henry fall asleep, and Chloe can go to the park. She takes the powder and goes inside. A few hours later, Henry wakes up and sees Chloe in her room drawing. She accuses him of lying about the bad people outside the house, and the two get into a fight. That night, she looks at Mary's picture and imagines her. Suddenly, the closet starts making noise again. Chloe goes in and sees the ghost she had seen a few days ago, but now she recognizes her as her mother, Mary. She introduces herself, but Mary pushes her away, saying that Chloe isn't real and just a hallucination. Chloe runs out of the closet. It turns out that Chloe also has a long-distance telepathic ability, and she can make other people at a distance see and talk to her. In the morning, the father is sleeping while watching the news. Chloe silently listens to the news and finds out that there are strange people often called freaks. Freaks have super abilities causing their eyes to bleed out when they use them. 10 years ago, a freak messed up the city of Dallas and killed thousands of people. Since then, the government has set up a defense force against strange people called the ADF. The ADF arranges for all freaks to be held in an underground facility on Mount Maddock, and freaks roaming the city are considered illegal and could be killed immediately. An ADF agent named Agent Ray reveals her plan to train the freaks on Mount Maddock to be used as weapons in battles. After hearing the news, Chloe is devastated. She hopes that one day she will be adopted by the Reed's family so that she can become a normal family member and have a mother figure who loves her. Later, Chloe is playing with paper toys, wishing that she lived with Harper. Just then, Harper and her friends arrive in the room. Harper screams at Chloe, asking her why she is in her room. The two seem to be in their respective rooms, but somehow, they have met each other because of Chloe's power. Harper's friends make fun of Chloe for not having a mother. Chloe cries and screams. When she opens her eyes, Harper and her friends are gone, and Mary appears in the closet. At first, her mother doesn't believe it is her daughter and thinks it is just a hallucination. But she begins to realize that Chloe has telepathic powers, and it really is her. Chloe starts talking to her mother. It turns out that Chloe's mother, Mary, is also a freak, and she is still alive and being held in Mount Maddock. But not long after, her mother suddenly disappears again. The next morning, Chloe tells Henry about her mother, but he doesn't believe her. Seeing no other way to escape, she tries to drug her father. Henry realizes what she's doing and chases her to the door. Chloe commands Henry to sleep, and he slips down to the floor as Chloe's eyes bleed for the first time. She meets Alan in his truck, and he tells her about his plan. Alan explains that Chloe's mother is still alive but is being held captive on Mount Maddock. He plans to go to Mount Maddock by meeting an ADF agent named Ray. Alan takes Chloe to see Agent Ray and makes up a story about him being a priest and Chloe being his adopted daughter. He lies that he has just found out that Chloe is a freak. He asks Agent Ray to protect Chloe and take her to Mount Maddock. Alan also wants to go there to accompany Chloe. Agent Ray checks for traces of blood under Chloe's eyes to make sure she's a freak. Ray also checks Alan's eyes but finds no traces under his, being called a freak. Chloe gets offended and yells that she is not a freak. Ray calls for backup, thinking that Chloe is dangerous. Luckily, Alan and Chloe manage to escape by suddenly disappearing. It turns out that Alan is also a freak who can become invisible. He has been using hydrogen peroxide to remove the traces of blood under his eyes. The two flee from there. Chloe asks him to take her back home, but he wants to take Chloe to his apartment to teach her how to use her power so they can help Chloe's mother. She uses her power to make him drive home. Suddenly, Henry appears on the road and takes Alan in his truck, and they both disappear. He takes Alan home and ties him to a chair. Moments later, Henry returns to Chloe. He begins to explain everything to Chloe. It turns out that all this time, Henry is also a freak. He can create a time bubble that slows time in the outside world while the person inside the bubble performs normally. All this time, he had created a time bubble around their house, which worked as long as he wasn't asleep. To the rest of the world, it had only been a few months since Chloe's mother was arrested, but to the two of them, they had been hiding in the house for 7 years. Deciding it's time to finally let Chloe go, Henry takes her to the Reeds to fulfill their deal. Stephen agrees and introduces them to Nancy and Harper. Nancy soon realizes that Chloe is a freak and backs out of the deal, saying that she didn't know they were supposed to be taking in a freak. Finally, they leave while begging the Reeds not to report them to the police. Back in the house, Henry is shocked to see Chloe's eyes bleeding and realizes that she already has super abilities. Afraid to trust her, Henry puts her in the closet. There, she meets her mother, Mary, who is being held at Mount Maddock. But suddenly, the prison guard drags Mary outside. When Chloe comes out of the closet, she tells Henry about her mother. At first, Henry does not believe her, but finally, Alan explains everything. It turns out that when he and Mary attacked Mount Maddock, they lost, and Alan managed to escape, but Mary was captured. He thought Mary was killed, but it turns out that Mary was only detained. Suddenly, Chloe sees her neighbor Nancy reporting them to the police. Chloe uses her telepathic powers to get a vision of what Nancy is talking about. Nancy calls Chloe a freak. Agitated, Chloe uses her power to influence the policeman. He stabs Nancy's eye, and seeing her eyes bleeding, the ADF agents assume Nancy is a freak and shoot her right away. The Reed family is eventually arrested by the ADF, assuming they are all freaks. Henry is mad at Chloe for killing someone, but Alan defends her, and they fight. Chloe immediately goes to a room where she has a vision of Mary being captured. Henry and Alan then come, and Henry is shocked to see his wife. Apparently, Mary will be put to death soon. Henry tries to shoot the doctor, but of course, he can't because it's just an illusion. Henry and Alan bid farewell to Mary, but suddenly, Chloe uses her telepathic powers to control the doctor's mind and uses the device to make him kill himself. Chloe enters the mind of the other officer to free her mother. Just then, the doorbell rings, and it is Agent Ray. She has come to investigate them. Henry freezes the time and dresses up as a realtor trying to sell the house. Alan gives him hydrogen peroxide to remove the blood stains from his face. He lets Ray in and checks Henry for the blood stains. When she doesn't find any, they talk for a while. It turns out that she already knows who he is. Meanwhile, Chloe is freeing Mary from the establishment. Alan comes to help Henry, but before he can do anything, Ray shoots him, wounding him badly. Alan goes invisible before she can do the same to him. She then goes upstairs to see Chloe trying to free Mary. She shoots her, but Alan comes in between and saves Chloe's life, at the cost of his own. Agitated, Chloe controls Ray's mind and makes her shoot herself. She then says her last goodbye to her grandfather. Outside, the police have surrounded the house after hearing gunshots. While Chloe continues saving her mother, she controls the guards who are about to capture Mary and makes them kill each other. She then opens the exit door for Mary and lets her free. Mary comes outside and flies away using her power. Chloe falls unconscious because of the overuse of her power. Meanwhile, a missile locks itself into the house, and the wounded Henry uses his powers one last time to slow it down. He carries Chloe outside as the missile hits the house, burning it behind him. When Chloe wakes up, Henry says his last goodbye and tells her that he loves her. Henry dies from his gunshot wound, and Chloe mourns her father's death. When she hears gunshots, ADF agents are still looking for Chloe, trying to capture her. Suddenly, the shooting stops as Mary arrives in time to save her. Chloe and Mary meet for the first time, and she promises to hide and protect her forever. However, Chloe tells her that they don't need to hide anymore and that they can live wherever they want. Touched by her daughter's confidence, Mary flies away with her hands around Chloe. Thanks for watching.